Welcome to The Disciplined Life. I'm Aria.
And I'm Coda.
We use our experience as a married couple living in a domestic discipline marriage to talk about the ups and downs of implementing authority structure and domestic discipline into modern relationships.
Let's do it. Hello, everyone.
Hey guys, on today's podcast, we are going to be talking about kind of the feelings around discipline, specifically from the head of household feeling like he is potentially hurting his partner and how to work through that in order to deliver an effective punishment. But before we get started, please give this video a like, leave a comment. That really helps out the channel. But most of all, if you are not already, please do consider subscribing. And if you want to get bonus content throughout the month, as well as access to our Discord server, the link to our Patreon is down below. So without further ado, let's get into the topic.
Let's do it.
This is actually a suggestion that we got from our Patreon community. It was asked a while ago, so sorry we're just now getting to it, but we definitely wanted to give this topic specifically some thought before jumping into it.
Excellent. Well, this is an area that I hope everybody is okay with. I'm going to take a little bit of the lead on today. The very first thing that we need to talk about is the first question that I've always been asked, or that I will ask back to the person asking this question is, are you asking me, was there ever a point in time where I felt bad about punishment or about resets or what we call maintenance?
Because you did, didn't you? In the beginning? You never did?
I never did. Is that contrary to what I've said in past podcasts? I don't think I consciously sat down and said, boy, I don't know if this is right, but I definitely had some trepidatiousness because it was a little out of my comfort zone, obviously.
The question that was asked was how to push past those feelings of feeling like you're hurting your partner, or that, kind of push past your unease in order to deliver a effective and painful punishment.
Right.
And I kind of feel like you have gone through this journey.
Yep.
Where you didn't want to necessarily cause undue pain, but then you realized through time and experience that you really did have to push past those feelings of discomfort on your end.
I never necessarily felt bad, but I felt uncomfortable with it. The uncomfortable feeling was because, again, this was outside of what I had normally thought a relationship would be, could be. I don't want to say should be, but maybe to a certain extent that's true. When we first started, because of that trepidatiousness, because of that uneasiness, because of it being new, we had a lot of conversations. And the conversations were Aria and I sitting down and her saying, it is okay. And she reiterated to me. Again, I asked for it. And then, just like we've always talked about, we sat down and together made out the rules. Talked about what those are. What are they going to look like? We talked about what the punishments were going to be for those. Is if you're feeling bad about this, you need to have conversations again. Remember, this is something that you mutually agreed upon, that you wanted to do in the very, very beginning. But anything that was worth doing is going to have challenges. And so part of that learning curve is that it's okay, head of households, if this is new to you, it definitely was to me, obviously, to sit back down with your partner and say, we're still okay, right? This is what you wanted. So that you can hear from her, yes, I asked for this. Yes, you have permission to do this. Yes, this is what I want from you.
This is one of the reasons we advocate and suggest that, especially in the beginning of your relationship, that after every punishment, you come together and kind of recap what happened, how the punishment went, and how you're both feeling about it.
The next thing is that you need to continue to follow through with punishments, even if they feel uncomfortable. Anything that's new that you've never tried before is going to feel uncomfortable at first. But the important thing is with this is to keep following through. And then having these conversations like Aria just talked about. The conversations are key. Communication is key. I can't emphasize enough how much communication plays a role. And believe me, there are days where it is really hard to communicate.
We try to make those times set aside to have those conversations something to look forward to.
Because then the conversation will be a lot more productive. You're having those conversations, you're following through with punishments and maintenance. One of the final things is set goals for yourself. Goals should be something that you're striving towards in order to make you and everybody else around you better. But don't think of a goal as just like a task list. It's something totally different. If we allow life to, by the way we feel, to dictate what we do, we'll never get anything done. So you have to, this is a practice that you have to have that says, I am just going to set goals and I'm going to follow through with those goals regardless of how I feel or what's going on in the moment. I don't want to say, oh, I'm just happy to discipline her now. I'm happy to do those things. No, not necessarily, because I don't like punishing her, but I have seen how it's helped our relationship. And I realize that when it's all said and done, when the punishment is over, she's a better person, she's a better wife, she's a better mom, all of those things. And so in the moment it might feel uncomfortable, but at the end I realized, no, that I did the right thing. This was the way to go about it.
Now, you have gotten a lot better about giving a spanking that hurts. And what I mean by that is that you have gotten a lot better about understanding severity and tailoring the severity of the punishment to the rule that was broken. In the beginning of our domestic discipline, we went through this process where, we were really trying to figure out punishments. And I know for myself, I really went through a period where I was trying not to show any response of the amount of pain that I was going through, because I didn't want to discourage you, because I knew that that's what I needed. But then you would still stop short of it really breaking through and getting to the point of having that lesson learned. What was the process on your end to really get to the point where now I can be very expressive and I can, express how hard it is to take a punishment, but you still are steadfast in the severity and you push through to make sure that the punishment is giving the effect that you want?
What's different is I'm more confident in not only following through with the punishment, but realizing that it's my right. It is my right as the head of household.
It's your right because I have given that authority to
you. There you go. And that's what I would say is remember, this is not something I took from Arya, that I demanded that she give me. She willingly said, I recognize that I want you to lead. So now it's my right to follow through with punishment and to punish her for something that she did wrong. And I've seen the result at the end of the day of how, when I've given her a proper punishment, how it's helped her.
And would you say that in the beginning, when you were being a little bit more light-handed in the punishments, were you seeing the pattern of having to punish the same behavior over and over and over again, where now you see less repeated behavior, at least in a short amount of time?
Yeah, I would say it's twofold. I'm seeing, because I'm following through more, and then because I'm following through with the correct punishment, yeah, we're not repeating a whole lot. Where at first, oh yeah, it was like, oh my gosh, we're going through this again.
Now, because there isn't the repeat of the same behaviors and it is new things coming up, that means that I am growing and developing as a person and moving forward rather than just going in a circle with the same misbehaviors, because the punishments aren't motivating the effective change.
And that's the key right there that she just gave. And I want you to correct me if I'm wrong. The key is, that's the reason she gave you permission, that Arya gave me permission in the first place to do this. She wanted to grow as a person, as a wife, as a mother, all these things. And now that this is happening, you said you've seen growth. And that's
Mhm.
the whole point of why you wanted me to do this in the first place, why you felt like this would be good for our relationship.
So in those moments, especially like this last discipline that we had, um, I know that there were points where I was just really having a hard time taking the severity that you were giving me.
Yep.
Um, After it was all said and done, I definitely reflected on it and was like, yeah, that was absolutely necessary and warranted and exactly what I needed in that moment. But going through it, it was really, really tough.
I know
And
that was hard on you. It was.
in those moments where I am having a really hard time and I'm expressing that, do you ever second guess yourself and think that maybe you should pull back?
I did during that punishment. I started to second guess myself. But I also remember that the pattern has been if I question myself, the result is not good. So I would rather follow through with this and have the conversation later with her to say, you know
Mhm.
what? I think that was a little severe, but thank you for following through because I didn't question your leadership. Then cut it short and have her go, you know what? All you did was give in.
And I think that that's really important that you recognize that because we always can have a conversation afterwards, but in the heat of the moment, when those emotions are running high, that's not the moment to start a negotiation.
No, definitely. And that was the other thing is that I was fully prepared for her to maybe potentially start a negotiation. And I was ready to say, we're not talking about this right now. You're going to finish this punishment. And if you continue to try to negotiate with me, this punishment will continue. Now, she didn't do that, but I was fully prepared to go that route if she did. Um, and that was something that was a hard decision to make also. But if you've had these conversations and you see growth in your relationship, you're probably making the right decision. Don't second guess your first decision because it's probably the right one.
Do you ever feel, for lack of a better term, do you ever feel sorry for me when I'm going through a punishment?
At first, when we first started this, I did. I will say now I don't. That probably sounds terrible, but I don't now. I don't
Do
now.
you feel justified in the delivery of the punishment?
Yeah, I did the other night when I did. I felt justified. At the end, I felt I wanted to extend grace and forgiveness, but no, I felt justified, and I didn't feel bad because I thought no, I did the right thing. She needed that. She deserved it, and as the head of household, I deserved to have the result that came about from the punishment. And if I hadn't have followed through with that punishment, I also would have deserved the problem that would have continued. And but it was like, no, that's exactly what she needed.
Do you remember ever having a specific moment where that mind frame shifted from feeling sorry for me, for feeling like you were doing this to me rather than for me?
The boot camp,
Mm,
pretty recent. It was really, I felt sorry for you until we did the boot camp. And it's going to sound funny, but because the boot camp had the structured in punishments and maintenance, and we had talked about that schedule, but that is something that we cultivated again because the boot camp had conversations in it. As we did those practiced, because that's where what the boot camp does is you practice punishment, you practice maintenance. I realized again, this is something she wants. This is something that's going to help her be a better person, me be a better leader. Why should I feel bad about something that's going to help us? I
mhm.
only should feel bad about things that hurt our relationship, not help it.
And was part of that because the scheduled punishments that we did in the boot camp were to address unaddressed issues that had happened in the past, and it was like, okay, these things have been let go, they've festered, and now we need to just wipe the slate clean. Is that why you feel justified now, because you can say, I let things build up in the past and then we dealt with it in boot camp, and now it's kind of your goal not to let those things happen again?
Absolutely. If you can address where things have gone poorly in the past with anything in your life, especially here, like we were just talking about in the boot camp, and then say, okay, we dealt with that. We went through a boot camp. We wiped the slate clean. I don't want to go back to that.
And would you say, because of the relationship building activities that we went through and your insight into my mindset on certain things, is that why you feel justified in delivering punishment and feel like, she deserves this, because you understand where my mind frame is with certain things as well?
No doubt, no doubt. And that's why I think everything about that boot camp was helpful. Because again, we had conversations, but I got to get in your head. I got to see why you were feeling the ways that you were feeling, and have these aha moments like, oh, that's the way she feels when I don't follow through with things. And yeah, she wants me to do it. And to have you say things like, look, it's easy for me to say right now, but in the moment I may not want it. But what I'm telling you right now is what I want you to remember, not the one that's telling you no in the moment, the one right now. And so I always remember the Aria that told me she wanted certain things in boot camp, not the one that in the heat of the punishment is going, stop, I don't want this anymore. It's like, nope, I'm listening to the other one, not the one currently.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was and that's why we've encouraged you guys to do the boot camps, because I think it's very helpful. And we'll do another one. We've talked about doing
Mm-hmm.
that.
I was about to say, I didn't mean for this to turn into like a infomercial for boot camps.
No, but it just so happened that was key for me. I don't know if it will be for you,
Mhm.
but if you're struggling in this area, try a boot camp. I'm telling you, it was. I think it's kind of funny. I've thought about, man, I need to do a boot camp in every facet of my life because of how productive it was here, and they would look a little different for other things that I'm going to do, but for this one, it was very helpful. That the boot camp for me was a turning point. It really was.
That's good. Well, because you can feel like punishment is justified and I deserve it, and that you are justified in giving me an effective and painful punishment, because you know that I feel the same way.
Yeah.
That when I do something wrong, I know it's wrong, and I know that I deserve harsh punishment and accept it.
Yeah. Right.
Even if in the moment I'm have a bad attitude towards it, at the end of the day, after all is said and done, I will be able to recognize that I went outside of your authority and outside of the bounds of our relationship and all of that. So,
and I'm glad to know, because we hadn't talked too much after that punishment, but I'm glad to know that you had reflected and realized, yeah, it's in the moment that was tough, but I'm really glad that he followed through with that. And hopefully the result is, heads of households, and Aria, you can answer whether I'm right or not, that she trusts my leadership more because of that now. So the growth in her trusting my leadership happened because of that, and also she has more trust in me because I followed through with it. If I hadn't, that would have taken a step back, but we took some steps forward because I followed through with that.
Yeah.
The whole point of all of this is there is no easy answer to this. It's not easy. It's not necessarily fun. You have to make the decision to follow through and to say, regardless of how uncomfortable I feel, I will eventually feel comfortable, and I'm going to trust that, and I'm going to follow through with it. It's the things that are worth it in life are the ones that take effort. It just is. It just is.
All right, guys, thanks for joining us on this conversation. If you want to get bonus content as well as access to our Discord server, please click the link to our Patreon down below. Otherwise, we will see you next time.
See you later.